So at the moment, we can get a token, we can generate a token, we can validate a token, but of course we need to be able to save tokens and to delete them, because we'll be doing that sort of thing all the time. So back here in models.go, inside the data folder, inside the internal folder, let's scroll to the bottom of this file and let's write the necessary database function to insert a token. So func t is the receiver, and that's a pointer to token, and we'll just call this insert. And obviously it's going to take a couple of pieces of information. First of all, a token of type token. And also we need the user information because we're storing email in the tokens table as well. So user. And that's going to return potentially an error. Now we need our context stuff. So let's see if I can grab that from a previous function. These two lines will do the trick. And go back down to the bottom and paste those in. Now, before I insert a token, I never want to have a user with more than one token in the database. And one way to make sure that happens is to delete any existing tokens. And that's simple. So we'll write a statement that just says delete from tokens where user ID is equal to $1. And there might not be any there, but just to be safe. So we'll ignore the first return value, but check for an error when we call db.execute exec context statement, and we want token.userID. We can get it from the user model or from the token model. Those will be exactly the same value, so it makes no difference. Check for an error. If error is not equal to nil, then we'll say return the error. Okay, so after that, we want to take our token, which we have at the moment, and we need to populate its email. So if we haven't done that before we send the user and the token over here, let's just be safe. It's not going to hurt a darn thing. So token.email, that should be set to u.email, just to be absolutely certain that the appropriate value gets populated in there, because you might be writing a handler and forget to do that. Now we'll write the necessary statement. So I'll use the same variable and use the equals operator instead of the assignment operator and just say insert into tokens. And we want to insert user ID and email and token hash and create it at and update it at expiry. And we want the values to be $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, and $7. Okay, so there's our query. And let's put that backtick back on the previous line just to save a little bit of space. So there's our statement. Now we'll again ignore the first return value, but pay attention to an error, and we can't use the assignment operator because we already have an ERR variable. And we call db.execContext and give it the context and our statement. And then on separate lines, just to make it more readable, we'll put in token.userID and duplicate that a few times. And the email and the token and the token hash. And the next one can just be time.now. And so can the next line for created at and updated at. And finally, we'll want token.expiry. So that should, in theory, return the token or insert the token. And now we can check for an error. So I'll copy and paste that. And if there's no error, we just return no. So no surprises there, a standard database insert. Now we also want to be able to delete tokens, and let's write a function to do that. We might not use it in this course, but it's always good to have this. So a func with t as the receiver, pointer to token, and I'll call this delete by token. And it will take one parameter, plain text, which is of course of type string, and that's the token we want to delete. So we're looking up the token by its plain text value to delete it. So I'll copy my context lines from the previous function, paste them in here, write the statement, which is nothing more sophisticated than delete from tokens, where token equals $1. And now we just ignore the first return value, pay attention to the error when we call db.execContext, hand it the context, hand it our statement, and our one value is, of course, plain text. And we check for an error. If error is not equal to nil, then we return the error. Otherwise, we return nil. Okay, so that allows us to insert a token. This allows us to delete a token. In the next lecture, we'll write two more functions. One that will actually get us a user with a token, and we'll probably go back and modify our previous getting user functions to add that same kind of functionality where we append the token to the user model. And we'll also write a very simple function called validToken, a quick method of validating a token, and one dedicated function to take care of that, because that will be useful for us as time goes on. All right, we'll take care of those in the next lecture.